All right, what's up, YouTube? It's Wolf King, and you're watching Wolf King's vids. All right, I hope everyone had a good Merry Christmas, great Happy Holidays, and a great start to a new year. We're going to be getting into it. We got a video here. True Empiricism criticizes Doc Savage for calling ID magic. Let's see. Yeah, so TE's back. He's making videos. That's good. He's doing relatively well. I'm glad he's in good health because I know he was going back and forth to the hospital. So that's great. He's in relatively good health. His dogs are doing all right. So let's see what that's got to say about evolution.
So you know what, guys? I'm going to run through this video as quick as I can, and I'm not even going to give you my assessment of the remarks that we are going to see on display here from Doc Savage, because I think that once I read these comments out loud, you guys will get the same vibe that I got from Doc Savage's demeanor. And so, well, let's just begin. I'll jump right into it. Doc Savage says, evolution appears to be working well in my lab, and so far I've not seen any supernatural influence. Best wishes, Doc. I tell him it should work well since evolution is a fact, change happens. Common assent as a conclusion from that change is a leap, though. I don't believe anyone mentioned the supernatural either. Somebody else get to the...
If you accept that evolution is a fact, then you have to accept descent with modification. You can't have the modification, the genetic changes in the organism's genes without common descent, without there being common ancestors that branch off and have descendants that split off, with because of evolutionary pressures and going off into different environments and so forth. This speciation, it's not. This isn't something controversial. It's actually very well understood.
Involved that makes this comment. True empiricism, you don't think that making a claim that there is a creator is supernatural? Well, here's what I say. Pay very careful attention to this comment. It depends on how far back you may take the argument from design, as well as from what angle someone may look at design, but simply pointing out that there may be fingerprints left from a designer which can be detected in the physical has nothing at all to do with the supernatural. So for the sake of brevity, detecting intelligent causation is a solitary...
Yeah, so he's given the argument from design in this vague deistic-like sense where he says that, oh, well, I don't believe that the designer is necessarily supernatural, but based on our understanding of paintings and buildings and so forth, these things have a designer. Therefore, we must infer that we have a designer. I mean, it's an intuitive assumption at best. That's all that is. It's actually very disingenuous of him to try and weasel out of saying that he believes that that a creator making humans isn't supernatural. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, none of this is scientific. It's just gibberish.
Very perspective that most people take, if they are to be modest. But there can be additional arguments to lead to a supernatural perspective on the creator, but science would not be that tool. I'll repeat that. But there can be an additional argument to lead to the supernatural perspective on the creator, but science would not be that tool. Sort of like how you can use a metal detector to detect metal, but not woods, rubbers, or plastic. You would need another tool for this. Here's what Doc Savage just said.
Yeah, well, then you're not talking about science at that point. All right. The reason we understand how things like paintings and buildings and so and all these other things we understand in our everyday experience have designers is because we can observe that. We can't observe. We don't have the same example of like a god creating something or an alien coming down creating something or somebody like altering our DNA, some foreign thing. Or a god or whatever. I mean, that's not the same thing for what we do in science when we cause species to evolve under certain pressures or observe that in nature. So you're just talking apples and oranges.
That's me. Here's his comments. Here it is, guys. What precise characteristics in biology would indicate the requirements for magic? I ask because your response above is meaningless babble. Best wishes, Doc.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the entirety of the video. Just his typical ID nonsense. Just creationism in a lab coat. You know what? I'm honestly I should be surprised, but I'm not. I mean, he's been running the same shtick for the last, I don't know, 6 years. He's been on here, like ever since he got on here. I'm not surprised. I understand why he took that break though. As ID sort of declined with popularity, so did his interest in it. But yeah, it's funny that he's still using the script that's been dead for pretty much 5 years now, ever since 2014, 2015. Like the height of creationism and its talk about it against actual science, this whole science versus religion debate. The height of it was Bill Nye versus Ken Ham, that little debate about evolution versus creationism, and people just taking their views from that. But yeah, I honestly, like, science is sort of like triumphed in that, and religious dogma is sort of like taking the L in that regard. And I'm not surprised that he's still trying to beat that drum. But yeah, there's a major decline in that. But now he's trying to throw his hat in the ring with trying to make more videos about politics and political discourse, and that might be interesting. I think I might review a video on that, see what he got, because he tends to repeat things he's heard on Fox News. But I mean, who knows? It might be interesting. It might be interesting. But as far as this whole like ID thing about there being like some kind of alternative model, yeah, I don't think we're gonna find that in intelligent design. I don't think we're gonna find it in a Magic Man making humans at dust. I don't think we're gonna see that shit. Yeah, I think as far as actual biology, actual evolutionary science goes, when we look at the fossils, when we look at the DNA and just the homologous structures and other bodies of evidence that we have, I think we know what we're going to go with. We're going to go with the actual what the actual data says. So I think that's all I got to say. I think that's a pretty decent assessment. This has been Wolf King. Peace out. If you like this video, you know what to do. Stop by, Dare to Know, and Hell Satan. Good night. Take care.